This is Mike, and you're watching a Smoke Tutorials Quick Tip. A pretty typical request from a client is to clean up a floor such as this one. So I'll show you a very quick and easy way to use Connect Effects and clean up this plate, the floor on this plate, with just 3 nodes. So to start out, we will click our Effects ribbon, Effects, Create Connect Effects. Let's switch to one-up view and let's spread these nodes out a little bit. So the first node we're going to look at is a Gmask. So I'm going to hit the G button, which is a hotkey down in the nodes area for pulling up all of the nodes that start with G. And I'm going to pull that up and pipe the input of my karate clip to that Gmask node. And we're going to use that Gmask node to block out our clip, the area that we want to fix. The second node that we're going to use is called the 2D transform node. So we'll drag that up and pipe. And this operation I'm doing here is on the front of the clip, which is why I like to put it at the top. The Gmask is going to be create a mat for the clip. And then the third node we're going to use is the Logic Ops node, which is a very key node because it combines different operations that you do together. And we'll pipe the background into that Logic Ops. We won't do anything with it for now. So the strategy here is essentially kind of like a moving clone brush. We're going to clone a patch of floor over the blemished area of the floor. And as we scrub through the clip, which is a good idea to scrub through a clip and look at your entire clip to see what sort of problems you're going to run into, you see that there's a shadow moving over that area, but there's an area over here that I can sort of clone over. And likewise with these areas down here, I could just take a patch and move it over. And the great thing about that strategy is, we'll get closer here, we have all these things going on like grain, movement. All of these things you get built into this method. One other method of doing this that I've done traditionally is painting these little things out, creating a clean plate and then tracking that plate in. But then you have to add grain back in and you have to deal with the shadows and things like that. I like to do a pass of this method first, since it's really fast and easy to do, and see what I can get away with. So jumping into our Gmask node, we'll add a Gmask, and let's zoom in closer so we can get in tight on that blemished area. And then we'll just hit add and draw a mask around one of these areas. And you can draw a pretty tight mask because we'll feather it out a little bit. And I hit F1 to view my front and F4 to view my mat. And you want that to cover pretty much that entire blemish. And there's not a lot of tracking involved, but if there were, I could just track that mat to the area that I want to move. So there's our mask. Pipe our mask to the mat input of the Logic Op. The blue is the mat. We've got the back already as the background. And then we'll pipe the output of this 2D transform to the front. If we click on this 2D transform, hit F4 to view the result, we can move this around. So we can move this about 20 or so pixels to the right. And now if we view the output of this node, this Logic Op, which defaults to add, we'll want to change that to blend. We see it's partially covered the area that we want to look at. And F1 for original, F4 for moved clip. So to more interactively move this little patch over, we're going to create a context. This lets us manipulate these nodes while viewing a downstream output. So to do that, option click or right click and on the logic op node and set as context. And then let's also go ahead and click on our source node and set it as a context as well. And I see C1 and C2, and so now my number keys 1 and 2 I'm toggling back and forth 1 and 2 between those. So now with our context set, let's go back to our schematic, click on our 2D transform node. That brings up our 2D transform properties. Hit 1 to bring up our context for our logic op, and we'll just move that over. And so what we've done is we've simply moved over that little patch in kind of the equivalent of a clone brush. And we even get that shadow back over that. Now sometimes when you move things over, you get subtle tonal differences. Such as I have here, that patch I moved over is just a little bit lighter. So what I do to fix that, and I'm breaking with my 3-node workflow here for creating this effect, but I'd like to show you how you can maximize it, is to hit C to pull up a color correct node and just drop a color correct in there. Double click that color correct, hit 1 to view our context, and then I would simply go take down the gain a little bit, or I could take down the gamma, probably be a little bit better. And now my patch is a little darker. So now if I hit 1 and 2, that's a pretty good little fix there. And then if I want to, I can see what that same operation does for some of these other blemishes on the floor. I can do that by going into Gmask and drawing a couple of more masks around these little guys. And I see that takes care of that one pretty well. And I'm not softening these clips, but I could do so. And since that operation basically moves the patch from the left of it over to the right, this seems to be working pretty well. Now in this case, I do have a light over that, so the better place to clone that from would be from above that. So to do that, I would create another set of nodes past this, and you could just keep piling these on. These are not very expensive operations to do. You can just pile these operations on until you have a nice clean floor. So that's a very easy, quick workflow to fix a plate and to do some rig removal or cleanup tasks very quickly, and you can go back and you can modify those masks as needed. This has been a Smoke tutorial quick tip. Watch more quick tips and tutorials at www.smoketutorials.com. Thanks.